Hello out there. Welcome to another episode, or actually this was going to be your first. If you tune in, thanks for checking it out. Potato Land. Here we are. No viewers and a ginormous intro. Some stock footage I purchased actually. But and then the typical old I can't talk about some stuff. So I recently saw, while browsing the internet in the more darker areas of the internet, I saw the intro that my opening shot is apparently a shot they also use in on some websites that are definitely legal, but just underneath the legal bars, which is, I suppose, not too surprising at all. I wish I could tell you the website name, but it probably had XXX in it. I'm chewing gum this episode just to see if I can, we did two in a row where I'm drinking too much, and it's become my decision. It's my prerogative to let's see. I had a meeting with myself. The words are not coming to me. Maybe I should. The last of this stuff. Otherwise, I got to do pure vodka. How are you doing? Okay, but I mean it sincerely. I hope you're all right. I hope everyone's all right. Depending on who's watching, it could be plural, it could be singular. But I'm chewing gum because 2 podcasts in a row, and I think I did fairly well in the last couple. In fact, might have got a little, the word I was going to say is braggadocious on the last episode. Maybe a little too much douche in there, because I was just keeping it chill, and I'm not quite sure that I needed to add, let's say, maybe one sentence in that podcast about how, it's going all right whether or not I'm taking long pauses and whatnot. So, but anyway, so if I get tired of the gum, or the gum gets too loud with the smacking or something, I'll take it out and put it aside. Trying to be loud for everybody. Speak up. It's weird when you're, in your own room, just yelling. I could keep it down. In fact, the sooner I get to it, the better, in my opinion. We haven't talked about the chair squeaking in a week, which, as you probably just heard, but I feel like it's been pretty quiet for the most part. Been doing my best to attack it, and definitely fucked it up. See, right there I thought about whether I should swear or not, because we're only a couple minutes in, but it just means I'll have to bleep it out for YouTube to feel comfortable to spread this to the masses, or more people, I suppose. So we'll bleep unnecessary terms out just for YouTube's sake, and you gotta hate that, the minor censoring. You gotta hate it, but I insist on being Mr. Reasonable, and this is not for, let's say, my relation with YouTube, because I don't have any, but there seems to be something reasonable about that. Hey, don't swear in the first 5 minutes, would you? It makes it easier for everybody. And that way, you're essentially saying you could maybe swear once, but I'm still going to bleep stuff, but as you heard at this point, but it's a quick, easy way to, how do you say, put a little too much sauce on a point you might be making, even if you're trying to help people, right? So my apologies, YouTube, or maybe anyway. No thanks, YouTube, but I'll do my best. And I've done pretty well in that regard, but let's move on here. I like to always tackle the issues as they are upon us. And the first thing is, I'm sweating. Well, I don't know how much you can see there. I've worn this shirt so many times, but I'll outline it for you. I've worn this shirt so many times, you could see a deodorant residue. I'm definitely sweating though. So if you haven't, and there's going to be some mic damage to all this looking directly to my side, but if you haven't, there's not a lot. The sweat is covering up the white underarms on this black tee. But I'm pretty sure I haven't worn this shirt yet, so bringing it to the masses, the public. And I suppose we have a couple segments, but I so far haven't come up with a word yet. It doesn't have to be a long word, it just has to be one that is infrequently used. So I'm thinking we don't have that segment, but we can do the first one. Some of these segments still have heat, and that's up to me to decide. There was a word that I was thinking of. We had, it's not coming to me. But before the podcast, I thought, oh, it'd be great if I could use that term. It's so, I say, you'll notice if you're an avid viewer, and that is none of you at this point, but you'll notice I'll say term after I say word to keep things interesting the next time around. But then I go back to saying word after, let's say, 3 minutes. Once you're not sick of stuff all over again. We do this, I play this game where I refresh your interests. Your interest is what I mean. None of you are listening to this on audio only, even though I said black shirt earlier, but you may be in the future. It seems like anybody's able to get their stuff up on all the if it's some of the people I have come across, then everybody's able to upload their podcasts or shows, on every platform, every audio platform, Spotify, and wherever you find your podcast, that sort of thing. So maybe in the future I will. But right now, it's don't promote yourself for the time being, and figure out if you can jump on YouTube's algorithm, get some random viewers. Okay, enough of the nonsense. Let's just get into, I figure I could talk about topics to what's happening. This week I've come upon the realization that I could talk about anything that's going on as long as I make it funny. And the most important topic, we're going to try this hot off the grill, right out of the the something or other. But it is a historical moment when something like 11,000 people. Okay, I know I'm late here. It's February the 4th. I know I'm late. In fact, it's almost been a month. A couple of days here. But, ooh, might be time to get rid of that gum. All right, and there it goes. But I did want to say something or other about storming the Capitol. Why not? I mean, this will go down in the gallows of history. Is that a proper use of the term? I don't know. But my opinion on something like that, and again, trying to make it funny, well, let's just ruin the twist before we even say anything. Listen, the only reason, oh, and the other segment, and maybe we already said enough. I'm going to look up gallows as we're chatting here. Don't mind the lighting change. I'm in dark mode on my browser. So we'll define the term. Do this, hang in there with me now. I gave you a little teaser about something, so maybe I'm still keeping it interesting, just hoping that you'd hang in here with me for a second. Gallows humor, it says. Grim and ironic humor in a desperate and hopeless situation. It sounds like I didn't use it in the properly. So never mind that, and maybe this segment dies if I try too hard anyway. So, but the other segment, before I get to, well, let's just talk about it, and I'll light up a cigarette, but I wanted to talk about lighting up cigarettes as well, because I don't think it's cute. I don't think it's cool. I don't think it's storming the Capitol. 11,000 people or something was the number, but essentially a sea of people all around the Capitol there in Washington, I believe, or Washington, D.C., I should probably say, if I wanted to pretend like I was a smart person. There you go. There's all the humor you're probably going to get out of this. What is another white dude's opinion on this? It was historical. I think that's about where I run short. But if I had to say anything else, I would say that there is no joke here. Not to try and get on anybody's good side. I'm going to go strong with this and put it on the record that I think there is a portion of the white, you don't even have to be white, you could be from, your ancestry can be from European descension, but there are a portion of people in America whose IQ are lower, and I'm gonna go there. If you storm the Capitol, I recently read, because it's been killing me. You know, if anybody wants to talk about this, and I don't talk to people unless they bring it up with me at the moment, but especially at the moment, because we're in the times we're in. But yeah, I'm just going to hold it against everybody that stormed the Capitol for not having as high an IQ. Intelligence quotient, and I'm not even necessarily saying that this IQ testing validates like a reasonable number of where you're at, but maybe it's the best we have. However, to actually think that storming the Capitol on those sort of with that sort of reason, on those circumstances, is, I mean, you should wind up in court. You should wind up in court for that. That's goofy stuff. People died. That's what I was gonna say. Is people died, and I went through and I read it. I finally just Googled who were the 5 people that died, and a couple of them were heart attacks, just right on the spot. So I'm not sure. Maybe that's stress. Maybe. It's most likely that's stress. But the other 3 were an officer and a woman who got, I guess she lost oxygen or something. She didn't get trampled, I don't think, but something happened, and the other one got shot. I think it was another female who got shot, Air Force or something like that, vet or something. There's too many females in my examples here. There was a slain police officer, and 2 other dudes that died of a heart attack. I feel like I gotta, I want a women audience. So definitely, no, see, okay, but I'm trying to bring the humor. There were 3 dudes and 2 women, and that died anyway. And I wouldn't have been there myself. I would have never have gone. Despite what people close to me would have done or not, it would never have been me. And even if me or anybody that's close to me, in terms of ties, lived right next to Washington, D.C., I would hope that none of us would have shown up. That's ridiculous stuff. So here I am, as you can tell, talking about people. Well, right now I'm talking about people that are in my family that, full disclosure, are probably on one side of the fence rather than in the middle or on the other. Not really full disclosure, but partial disclosure. I don't think, I would hope to, I know I wouldn't do it. I would hope that they wouldn't be there. They wouldn't show up to something like that. 5 people out of 11,000 is a very small number. And I believe it could have been 14,000. I'm racking my brain here. Trying to something memory here. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, don't want to talk about it unless there's some fun involved. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous, but it's a historical moment because I listened to enough podcasts where I realized, okay, this is, I'm just 1 in 7 billion here. Listening to the podcast that I choose to keep up with. And if a couple of them, maybe more than a couple, mention that it's historical, then it's historical. I think something like this could easily be forgotten. It's just my opinion. It can't be forgotten. There's deaths involved. If there were no deaths, definitely the whole thing goes off the record, hopefully. But even in that case, yeah, that's why I have to bring it up today. Even in that case, it's gonna go down in history, like Rudolph. But a little belated because it's January the 6th. Searching for humor here. So yeah, call them stupid and you could still be my friend. Not the 5 people that died. I was going to say serious and then I was going to say legit. That's a real tragedy and it's much bigger than just one person in each of those 5 circumstances, right? Okay, sorry, I'm not trying to use word circumstances with 4 syllables or more at all. Don't want to kill the bit. I love pretending like, I'm smart, at least while we're here. And then, because we talked about my education last podcast. Okay. Go back and look at that if you want to. But substandard education for sure. And I don't talk about that enough. I wanted to talk about cigarettes, but we don't talk about it enough. We're here in episode 14 or something, and I haven't brought up Scientology desde in Spanish, since I keep shaking the camera because of where I'm putting my elbows, and I noticed that I don't have to edit it in post-processing because it seems to eliminate it completely, which is a wonder of scientific, whatever you call it. Where was I? Don't want to talk about cigarettes, but I kind of do. And, yeah, I don't know. I mean, grew up in it, and if you don't already know, but grew up in it. Mom and Dad were in it when I was born is what I mean. And then some circumstances led to me being thrown in, and I believe this was about a year and a half. It could have only been 6 months. I could be stretching it. Lived with a different family from a different culture, a minority family. And I feel like that kind of taught me everything I need to know about life outside of my skin tone. And then I was, I was thrown into the herd. And for the next 12 years, I was involved, if not, especially those last 2 years, heavily involved. It doesn't mean that I wasn't acting like a normal person. I know you want, I hope you want to like me if you're still watching or listening, that is. Or listening. But a normal person is a person that rebels and dyes his hair blonde without dyeing your eyebrows, by the way. Tip for the men that want to go that route momentarily. But still a little bit of a rebel in any case. And I don't feel like I need to, let's say, defend my regular humanness, but in context of explaining the whole story, I feel like I'm not doing a good enough job entertaining here, and that it's all just defense and putting up shields and stuff like that. But essentially, 12 years is 12 years, and the last couple, I was part of the clergy. I'm going to put quotes around that. What I was trying to get at explaining was not just dyeing the hair, but also not wearing the uniform, which is probably something that goes back in my track record or whatever. By the way, is that a normal use of the term, track record? Yeah. All the way back to probably, who knows, right? I don't think we got written up for not being in uniform when we were 6, 8, probably 12, years old. I'm not sure that stuff is in my file, which is real. I was going to put quotes on that too, but it would be the singular fingers. in my file, which they keep for everyone. Throughout your time in Scientology, they keep your tabs on everybody. So, but no need to explain more than just what we have already. I don't want to, when I talk about Scientology, I don't want to come off as a rebel. I don't want to come off too much one way or the other. The reality is, if I can say it, I mean, it's all good and normal and fun. A child can handle anything. I was 17 when they finally said, all right, despite all of your family being, well, almost all of your immediate family being with us, half sister not included, you can roam the world freely. Don't get into too much trouble and make this look bad on us. So they let me go at 17. And I feel like that was like two parties can agree that that was probably what should be happening at that point. And I had done enough rebelling to where 17 and a half, they give me 6 months to just, not get arrested, not make it look bad on them. It's all about image, especially with an organization as such. Prefer to call it an organization, honestly. And as far as, here I go, just given the whole spiel in one episode. As far as religion and the IRS and stuff like that, they weren't the kindest to me. There is one incident where I felt like I was bullied, just mentally. So I'm not sure how big of a deal it really is. And like I said, children can handle anything. But 15, 16 I was. And they told me that the story was going to be the story that they wanted me to tell them instead of what was the truth. So, but having said that, that was just the catalyst. That was why I was able to, okay. I'll do the cigarette and then we'll finish that sentence, okay? Moment of silence, my only other segment that still has heat. Nobody ever talks about how you can pause a podcast on any sort of middle of a sentence image and make a guy look funny. And I always thought this wide angle makes my fat head look even fatter, especially because I've been eating too much during this quarantine and I'm gaining. I wonder if you could go back to episode number 1 and see the pounds I've gained. I put on this shirt tonight for this specifically. So if we're talking about my beard from last episode and the way that it's cut and me not shaving and your looks being a form of passive aggression, if you're substandard, that is, I am beginning to sort of accept the whole terrible look, and I know I have a red spot. Let me see myself in, I know I have a red spot there. And you are viewing this in HD, but everybody's TVs are too big these days. They're not too big, but they're too big, in my opinion, where you can all see it. So I might as well bring it out. Just plucking at it with my surgical tweezers, the ones that are the sharpest and the smallest, tiniest little been plucking at hairs just to see which one can grow out so I don't feel like, because if I have an ingrown hair, then it sort of spreads around the area and I feel like plucking everything. I don't know what it is. I believe it's also psychosomatic, my problem, tragic area here, but I've been trying to handle it in every way. We're going to do something huge on this podcast. I'm going to go take a piss, and you're just going to wait. I feel like we talked about everything, despite me saying I was going to add something before the cigarette puff, but I've definitely since forgotten it. Given you everything up to this point. None of this stuff is that important anyway, and right now I'm doing the where you knock your knees together and your feet are spread. I need to. So for the sake of possibly editing this, I'm gonna just, I gotta go. Drank too much, and I don't want to be sitting here for the rest of this podcast. So hang with me, all right? I'll do this for the rest of the episode. That way, not overproduced. He just has decent lighting. 1 second. You saw the last of that. Let's just hold this for the, for the time being. Thanks for hanging in there with me. I'm not editing it out, no, because a moment of silence is our next segment. So if you didn't like that, well, then you don't like our segment, and we should probably end it. But I think we'll be just fine. Thanks for hanging in there with me. I think we talked enough about my childhood, my past, and stuff. Like layers of cake, you remove slowly. I don't think this is necessarily conscious. You slowly remove your connections and until you are able to. I'm gonna take a shot of vodka until you're able to go online and try and look behind the curtain until you're brave enough to do it yourself. It's like watching porn, I imagine 8-year-olds and younger don't really want to necessarily dive into that stuff. They think it's scary or dark or too adulty to get on the porn sites. I could be wrong. Men and women, I imagine, boys and girls, I imagine it's probably too much for them to bear. We should be thinking about heading out now, but I imagine 8, 9, maybe 10 years old, then you finally are willing to check out what all the fuss is about. And I'm just talking about your natural interests, your normal interests. So where was I? Didn't know what we were going to talk about today, and that's why I did all the drinking and the cigarettes and stuff and the chewing gum, because I need my I need my things, my something to keep my hands busy. In this case, also my jaw or my lips. Such a I don't want to call it an error, but such a flaw in our human coming to terms with our robotness. I actually don't know which syllable you pronounce on that one, but as we move into the tech age, I imagine some of this stuff has to go. And I'm not fond of, ooh, my lips are sticking to my teeth now. I don't necessarily think that any of this has to happen in terms of us merging with technology. I watched that documentary, Incendiary Man or something, whatever it was called, where that guy, he did the Joe Rogan podcast. I don't remember his name, but it's something about the moment 2049 or something, when AI gets as smart as humans or something like that. I forget what it's called. And to be honest, I feel a little refreshed not being able to come up with wise words on this one. The Anyway, the moment where we merge with technology, I'd like to push it back a few thousand years, because I tend to not believe that we're gonna be so happy with it as humans. I think it'll be a rich versus poor thing, or maybe middle class will get into it more than the rich even. There's a intellectual bet for you. The middle class will probably get into it more, thinking that it's the rich lifestyle, but I think probably rich people, wealthy people, will hold off, or maybe they'll pick it up first and then they'll get sick of it, kind of like everything. I think we'll be human for forever. This The last 10,000 years being similar to this. It seems like all my old punk rock records that I used to listen to, albums, they were actually CDs. Not trying to out old school anybody, but those artists, those bands, still talk about the same things that we talk about today, and that goes back as far as the '70s and stuff. Maybe the mid '60s with bands that I also love, like the Pink Floyd, all that goodness. Sheesh, can't believe that it's even gone this long. Oh, this podcast. So, something I should probably bring up at this point, now that we're a quarter of 30 episodes in, almost a quarter of 30. No, a half of 30, a quarter of 60 episodes in. I want this podcast, I feel like I should get this out as soon as possible. And so, as a matter of full disclosure, I think this podcast is a little bit about the reason why I release, and I said it a few episodes back, the reason why I like to release this Friday, 5 p.m., not just for the YouTube algorithm, but also because it's a great time to buddy with somebody. I feel like Thursday night here's what it's like. Thursday night I'm calling you and I'm saying, "Hey, I'm buttering you up. Hey, just like to hear the sound of my voice talking to somebody else, but I also like to hear your voice. I like to hear somebody else's voice, chitter chatter, butter you up for Friday night when we go out. Synthesizing, I was going to say simulating, whichever one you prefer. Synthesizing us going out tomorrow night. You kind of just check in on your friend. How you doing, fellow 9 to 5er? Let's make the weekend. Let's start the weekend off with a bang, and then we can go our own ways if we choose to, perhaps. But this is a. I'm not going to say it again. This is a mock hangout, and I'm just saying it works while I record this Thursday night, but it's actually our Friday night where we just chat, and then if we're gonna go to a pre-party, we do that. If this is the pre-party, then that's that for you, whatever it may be, and then you can go about your ways, right? So after you get off work or something, I don't know. I mean, I don't have a 9 to 5, so but that's not me trying to act cool. I should be working 9 to 5. But yeah, so we simulate that, and then we're on our way. I'm your friend if you're my friend. That's the case here, and that is the case with everybody. So having said that, we'll do this last vodka shot because I said I would, and it's going to be pure vodka, and I'll show you how little of a face I can make because of that last episode or whatever. And then we'll go about our ways. But I promise to sober up and then get to work. You know what I'm saying? Tomorrow morning, early in the morning when that sun rises. That's what I meant. But here we go. 2 long pause breaks. And I'm not promoting this show at the moment. So long pause breaks bear nothing. They it doesn't mean anything. So I'll softly put the mic down so it doesn't make too much noise, and we're going to get into some of that vodka all by itself, see what happens. All right, here we go. Real quick. Whoops. Now I'm thinking about editing out all that sound that this just made, but I don't have to. It's just a celebration that if you see this episode that I talk enough about not promoting, I'd rather not promote this thing the whole way through. I'd rather be on episode 400, 600 and not have promoted this thing the whole way through. This is more vodka than I drink when I mix it. Okay? That's just me being honest. You're just going to have to believe me. But this is way more. Well, not way more, but a few millimeters more than I pour up to when I have a chaser. And, oh, that's right. I didn't tell you the chaser last episode. I'm going to stick with it. Forget about it. They can sponsor me if they want. Them giant soda companies. Here we go. Trying not to make a goofy face, right? Cheers to hanging out, being my virtual pal. Liquor is so it's so viscous that it slides out your lips. It gets all around everything. It's viscosity. I think it's so not viscous or something. Probably going to look that up right after this. But anyway, so there you go. There's my trying to remain cool face. And I know I didn't do that great of a job. But we're coming on I don't know how many minutes it's been. but it's been too long. So let's get out of here. Thanks for hanging there with me. Probably going to get another hit of a cigarette, actually, as well, just because I'm enjoying myself. But if you were here with me and you were able to tolerate last episode, then the cheers is to both of us for being able to hang out with each other. I appreciate it. And to simulated friendships. Alrighty, guys. At the risk of staining my teeth a little bit more, I'm going to get into this cigarette. And did we talk about it enough? They're just something to do with your hands. Okay, yeah. We did. Alrighty, guys. I'll see you around the bend. At least we had something to talk about. Let's keep it fresh. Let's keep it fun. Till next time. Peace.